And just segueing into the overall injuries around the league, man, we're getting killed because we had some good games early on, especially with KD, with Oklahoma City, Ja Morant doing his thing, dancing on LeBron and the Lakers
Yeah.
grave, I should say, man. He's been dancing on those dudes. But it's been a lot of injuries. Once again, it's KD. He got a 2-week calf strain. Ja Morant with a hip injury. Chet Holmgren just went out 8 to 10 weeks. That's crazy.
That's
OKC
wild.
was busting ass. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, yo, when he went down, I was sick when I saw that.
Oh,
Sick.
dude. Yeah, my friend's like, bro, he's out for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be a big deal. I look on Twitter, I'm like, nah, fuck, no, that doesn't look 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, I was sick when I seen that. And then Anthony Davis, he went down with an eye injury, and the Lakers
Yeah.
look like they're imploding because of that.
Oh, they're done. The Lakers might be done. I think
Holy
the
shit.
well, also Paulo Benchero after 50-point game. We're just seeing him like a couple games later. He's out.
Yeah, Paulo was
Yeah,
killing, man. Paulo was looking like the comeback
a
player
top
of the
20 player,
year. Yeah,
top
like
20 player,
man,
easily.
he was not looking like that last year with the jump shooting. Like
You know,
he looked like he added
and
some packages to his game, and we just got that taken away from us real quick.
yeah. Oh, dude, I was upset when he got injured. I think Brendan Miller missed like a first week of this season. A lot of players missed a lot. A lot of players missed some time.
Yeah, once again, it's a very unique time for the league because of course they're trying to bring quote unquote the sports science, and now they moved away from it. They need guys to play a lot more because they're going into streaming. And streaming, you have to, kind of keep up with the numbers. These streaming companies got analytics on everything. You know what I mean? So it's not like the
Yeah,
league could just afford to have ratings drop. So it's a very unique dance they have to do right now. They got to kind of manage these guys, schedule, make sure that they're healthy, could be appearing in this game. Because next season, there's going to be nationally televised games almost every single night after a certain point in the NFL season. Monday through
yeah,
Sunday, there's going to be like a primetime game on NBC. There's going to be a primetime game on ESPN. There's going to be a primetime game on Amazon. This is going to be night to night. Every single night. Can you imagine that? Is a nationally televised game. Like
yeah.
someone's gonna be on the spotlight for the NBA, and it's gonna be a bad look when you just have a bunch of guys hurt.
Yeah, 100%. Especially name worthy guys, right? Like Chet Holmgren, Zion Williamson, Paulo Benchero, Kawhi Leonard. These are like household. These are guys who are soon to be household names, or Kawhi and Kawhi's like in Kawhi's argument already a household name. Paul George, Joel Embiid. It's a bad look.
Yeah, and Joel Embiid, like you said, with him, oh man, the load management situation with him, that itself is not a good look. But I don't think that has everything to do with him being in shape. I think he's just an injury prone player, but it's once again it's very nuanced because the league, it kind of instituted a new scheduling in the past, I would say 10 years, where guys have a game, then rest, game, rest, game, rest. But
Yeah,
before then, it was 3 games in 5 nights, or 7 nights, 5 games. And then they'll get multiple rest days after that. Sometimes even 3
yeah,
rest days. And Paul George and JJ Redick actually spoke on this. And they kind of gave some insight because they're part of the players that participated in that transition. When they first came into the league, they had a heavy
yeah,
schedule load, then a couple of rest days, in which those rest days they got a good practice in or two, and then they were able to kind of build up a calluses so their bodies can last through the playoffs. But now we're seeing guys have, rest, play, rest, game, rest, game, rest, game, rest, game. And sometimes teams have that type of scheduling for like months at a time. And then they'll have 2 days off after like weeks, like their first 2 days off. But other than that, then they'll go back to a game, rest, game, rest, game, rest. And low key teams right now, a lot of teams, they're not getting practices in. Those rest
no,
days, because remember, they got to travel and get a practice in and then play again and then travel again or stay. It's the scheduling. I don't know if Adam Silver kind of made these changes too drastic, a little bit too drastic. He maybe should have slowly kind of wheeled these things in to just sort of test it out, because sometimes the guys that with the science, quote unquote, they sort of think of like themselves, which they're not athletes. So they don't have to build up a calluses to play in the playoffs, in which these games are highly pressurized, intense situations. You know what I mean? Like your body has to get built up to last through that. And the players are
And
just not getting those reps. They're just not.
teams themselves don't really practice like that anymore.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's hard because you have the game and then you got to travel on your rest day, and then the next day you got a game again.
Yeah.
So most of the practices are walkthroughs. They're really just
Yeah,
walkthroughs.
it's conditioning and like videos and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, there's certain teams right now, I'm looking at the scheduling, they don't have 2 days off for the next like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just game rest, game rest, game rest. Like the scheduling was not like that before. But Paul George and JJ Redick gave great insight to this. So we're going to check it out. And every once in a while, we're going to check in because we're going to do this sort of dance between me and Beyond the Buzzer and the audience. So we're going to sort of add more nuance to this conversation, but really good topic discussed with JJ Redick and Paul George. As once again, those two guys are players that came into the league where they participated in the old scheduling and then the league transitioned into the new scheduling. So they have experience with both and they spoke on it. So definitely we're going to check it out because this is great insight.
And when you came into the league, when I came into the league, and one of the points that Nate makes and one of the points that RJ and I talked about is the culture that has been created by teams, not players, around load management. And I think that is getting lost right now in the nuance, because whether it's me, like you just said with yourself, like there are times where you feel like I shouldn't be on a minutes restriction. I should be able to play in this game. And a team will for me, it was always like, hey, you're running hot. We got to figure out a game to sit you out. And as an older player that didn't grow up in that culture, it was very easy for me to sort of be like, no, I'm going to play, or okay, I won't fight you on this one or whatever. But for a young player coming in now, that's the only thing they know is this culture around body monitoring, load monitoring, and that was not done by the players.
I think it starts off like when I first came in the league, and you know, you came in the league a lot longer than I did. Not trying to age you at all, JJ.
It's all right.
But
the older we get, the older, just first of all, Paul, the older you and I get, the closer you are in age to me. You realize that, right?
That's true. That is true. But you know, when I came in the league, like, and I went to a blue collar team that worked extremely hard. That was like the norm, like practicing hard. You know, the 2-a-days on training camp, like that was just like, that was the norm to me. And I enjoyed it and I loved it because it helped prepare me mentally. It helped prepare me physically. Like it prepared my body for what was to come in a long season. And I think now they're like, teams don't really practice. You know, we're not getting up and down. You know, there's just, it's a lost art when it comes to that hard practicing. And I think that's why there's so many injuries that's going on, because guys that have a high load day and then a completely off day and then a high load day. You know, back then it was, you practice hard, you got a game. You practice hard, you got a game. Then you might have a day off. Then you come right back to it. So I feel like your body just built the callus and that you were prepared for a long and rough season, to where injuries, like, you know, there wasn't that many injuries. There wasn't time to take a load off because you felt good to play. You know what I mean? And I think now it's just, it's tough. It's tough because it's almost the reverse. They think by giving us time off, it's help managing our bodies. But in honesty, I think it's just making us weaker as players without putting that load and strain to our bodies.
One other thing I want to note on that, because I think it's a great point in terms of the practice load then leading to the game. And you've played now 2 seasons. This is your second season since I retired. So you've experienced this new schedule. And by new schedule, I mean maybe it was 18, maybe it was 19, but somewhere around that time period, there was an emphasis with the scheduling around eliminating as many 4 and 5 nights, which I don't even know if they exist anymore, eliminating 5 and 7 nights, eliminating 3 and 4 nights. And on paper, I think it sounds great. I really do. I like that idea. The problem is, prior to them changing that, you would play 5 and 7, and maybe you finish on a Monday. You probably wouldn't play again till Friday. There was time to recover from nagging injuries. I can remember with Doc, Doc was great about giving us days off when we needed them. And we would have a Monday game in LA and not play again till Saturday, let's say. And he'd say, I'll see you guys Thursday. And we would go in knowing Thursday and Friday are going to be hard practices. But now I get a little break here to recover. And you go in the gym, maybe you do your maintenance work, maybe you do your training table work, maybe you get your shots. But there was time. And now with the current schedule, it feels like it's game, day off, game, day off. There's no long breaks during the season where you have multiple days. I can't remember if it was T. Lou, but I know it was one of the coaches over this weekend. They said to me, they're like, we haven't had a 2-day break between games in over 7 weeks. All-Star aside, it was back to like December before there was a 2-day break between games. Do you sense that sort of lack of longer time between games?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's tough on our schedules because we just recently, like last month, I think is when we first started getting 2-day breaks in between going into the All-Star break. But before then, we were every other day, if not a back-to-back. And like it's no like I don't want to say it's Clippers' fault or like I'm not saying that T. Lou doesn't practice us, but it is hard based off of our schedule of playing every other day to get good practice days in on that note, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just the way the scheduling is. Like they made it not so many games in a week span, but we're still every other day, which is, I almost would do more games in the front and then get a little break, because those breaks, like as much as it is physically, it's a good mental to get away from the game for like 2 days and then come back, and know, all right, now we got another stretch. And that was the way we looked at it as in Indiana. Like, all right, let's win this 5 out of 7. We got 2 days to recoup. And then let's target this next week. Let's target this, 4 out of 6 this week. You know what I mean? And it's a different game, man. We're adjusting to it and we're trying to figure it out. But I think it is a different game.
Now, once again, this is a very unique space and time that we're in. We get to hear from the players directly, and JJ Redick and Paul George, once again, they participated in that transition. So what are your thoughts on this? Because they're giving real insight, real good game right here.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I found it interesting when JJ Redick was talking about how they'll have like a 5-game
in 7 days,
5-game schedule and a 7-week schedule, right? And it'd be interesting how much break they'd have in between, like after that 5 games, they'd have like a 4-day break, right?
Yep, Monday,
where 2 days is recuperate.
Monday through Friday. Yep. Yeah, that used to happen. That used to happen a lot.
Yeah, I think I think the way he presented was much more sustainable. But at the same time, it was these players who, criticized this type of schedule. They were quick to criticize these kind of schedules and say, "Oh, it's much more demanding on my body." But now you're kind of seeing an opposite view within these players,
No,
like,
hold on.
What is it?
I would have a little pushback with that, because I would say the players, we've seen them last longer. We've seen them last a lot longer, and they had days where they took complete mental breaks. Like either Paul George or JJ Redick, one of them said that.
Yeah.
They took a complete mental break away from the game, and they were able just to practice hard the next day. The players today cannot do that. There's teams now, as we speak, for the next 2 months, they don't have 2 days off. There's no way hell they're gonna check out of the game at any point.
Yeah.
They don't get 1 day to themselves. They only get nights, maybe a night off. But you still had to travel that day, and you still had to do a film session, maybe a walkthrough. You had to do something involving the game. These guys used to be in a situation where not only their bodies were getting built up because they could last longer, but also they had 2 days off. Then they could have 2 days harder practice without even playing a game, and then they'll
But
play
you
a
remember,
stretch of games.
it was these players who kind of criticized back-to-back games a lot.
Yeah, they did. They did because sometimes with the scheduling, with
Yeah.
I think they complain more about the travel back to backs.
The NBA took it to that extent, and it makes sense. Like, I'm not saying the NBA players, they don't have grievances or they don't, like, obviously it's a job, right, for them. So it could get tough. I'm not saying that, but I don't know. It seems like a lose-lose situation for the league.
I would say the league needs to take a look at the current schedule because, again, the people that are making or quote unquote testing the science, as they used to say, they're
Yeah.
not necessarily athletes. They never been through this 82 game schedule. They don't
No.
realize, like Paul George says, that their body used to build up a calluses to last through the
Yes.
playoffs. Now, right now in 2024, we're seeing guys with Chet Holmgren, Anthony Davis, Ja Morant, Kevin Durant. These guys are now all of a sudden, we never seen this many injuries just to start off. And some of these
Yeah.
guys are not even 25 years old.
No, they're young.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about, like, I think Zion's turning 25. Paulo Banchero's, 21, 22. Scotty.
Only thing I wouldn't count Zion in this too much because he's always
Yeah.
been injury prone. I wouldn't count him too much in this.
Okay. Okay? Then we could have Scotty Barnes.
All
You
right.
could add a lot of young guys, right? A lot of young cats. John Morant, you added, obviously. Murray's not that
Holmgren.
young. Chet Holmgren. Murray's not that young. He's been in and out. A lot of guys we could mention in that conversation. Bro, the thing is, I could mention more young players who get injured than, like, young players who stay healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of true, but I'm wondering if the scheduling has something to do with it because sometimes the league, they do things very subtly, because it's not
Yeah.
until I heard this conversation, I forgot that these guys used to have the 7 games in 5 nights. No, 5 games in 7 nights. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. And
And those
or
players
4
last
games
long.
in 5 nights. I forgot about that. And the league now is game rest, game rest, game rest, game rest. And we're hearing a lot from a lot more players because now the players have their own podcast. We're hearing from
Yeah.
them that, we're not practicing. Like, players subtly say that all the time. Like, oh, we're not, we're just doing the walkthrough. Like,
No.
because they don't have
Dude,
time
the
to
first time-
practice.
The first time I heard about it was when I think it was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They talked about it at, like, 2017, 2018, where they talked about how they don't consistently practice anymore.
Yep. And,
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I got to look this up, when the scheduling shifted. When did the schedule shift? And because I'm pretty sure there's a correlation with the analytics error with this. Because remember, they kept on saying the science. I think that's when they made that transition.
Yeah.
And right now, we're just seeing guys break down very quick. Very quick. There's no build-up to these games, really, when you think about it. Because it's rest, game, rest, game, rest, game, rest, game, rest, game. There's barely any build-up. And all of a sudden, now guys can't even play back-to-backs. Just a back-to-back, maybe in 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, they'll have another back-to-back, and guys are already complaining about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Bro, I
kind of
mean,
crazy.
Of course, you have to adapt to new time schedule. You have to obviously settle in. You don't have time to really work in your game.
Work as a unit, as a whole overall
Yeah.
team. It's just a bunch of walkthroughs, and I'm wondering if today's back-to-back means something different than the past. Like in the past, once again, it's a back-to-back 4 games in 5 nights. You might have a back-to-back in between then, but you had multiple rest days. But today, a back-to-back really means you have 2 games in a row, but for the last 2 weeks, you never had a full rest day that didn't involve a walkthrough, game film, practice, travel. That's what a back-to-back means today. It means something completely different than back then. There's no time to yourself. It's just every day it's about the game at some capacity. Whether you got to hop on a flight, you got to pack your bags, you got to do something, go to film. Something involves a game. There's no point where you actually get a full rest day.
No, 100%.
So you're not only getting a full rest day, you're not even getting a full practicing. That shit is kind of crazy. You're not even getting a full practice in.
That's why
practice.
That's why teams don't really build that chemistry up quick anymore, bro.
Yeah, Adam Silver
Yeah.
really needs to take a look at this again, because me personally, I did not realize that until I got here that these guys play every other day. It just never really crossed my mind like that. I'm just like, it's
Bro,
really
honestly,
every other day.
I thought like until you put off that clip, I thought the elimination of back to backs was a good idea until until you're putting it like this. Like you don't have much breathing room to like really get your practice in.
And that's why I always say it's a very unique in time space that we're in right now, because we get
Yeah.
to hear from the guys directly. And seeing that Paul George and JJ Redick, they're very unique themselves because they came into the league, it was a certain way to scheduling, and by the time they're transitioning to their way out, the scheduling switched up. So they noticed it. They're like, whoa, my body's not reacting the same. I know they notice it. Their bodies are not reacting the same. Yo, when we gonna get a hard practice in? We used to practice hard for like 2 days in a row, and then we'll play a game. We used to have the energy for that, but like now, yo, I don't remember the last time I had a whole day to myself. It's been like 2 months. It's winter, it's summer, it's winter, summer. Like, we were traveling here, we're traveling there. You know what I'm saying? It's a complete different thing now.
Yes.
And sometimes I know the older players like Kevin Garnett, they call these guys soft. But I think Kevin Garnett, he had a couple mental days in between weeks. He had mental days to himself. These guys don't really have it anymore.
No, they don't have it.
I don't think they take that into consideration.
Because your game, basically, like basketball surrounding your life, right? So let's say you have like a 4-game house, like a 4-game home streak, or 4-game home games, and then you have four games to really travel. 2 days you can stay in the city and relax, spend time with family. Then you kind of have to, then you have to go down to whichever city you have to perform in. It makes it easier on everyone. Like mentally, you can refresh body wise. Like if you're feeling a little soreness, those 4 games you could really rest it out.
Yep. And just the teams that are making championship runs, that got to be real uncomfortable. The fact that you can't have a day in almost a 3-week span, just one day to get a hard practice in, because it's game rest, it's game day off, game day off, game day off for 3 weeks in a row. That's got to be real uncomfortable. How the fuck?
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think Adam Silver, sometimes they got way too caught up in the analytics, as we've seen it produce a horrible product on the court with the 3-point shooting and the layups. It's not good for TV. They got too caught up into that, and I think they went a little too overboard with the science, because a lot of these guys that came up with the science or just did the research, and I'm not rejecting the science, I'm just saying those guys themselves, they've never been through an 82-game schedule. To them, it may sound crazy, like, oh, we need a day off. Like a normal human would need a day off, but these guys are not, their bodies have to be built up a certain way to get through certain portions of the season. I don't think those scientists or those researchers took that into consideration. Like, I don't think so, because this scheduling sounds harder to me right now. The way the NBA is today, the scheduling sounds a lot more difficult, and you're getting a lot less out of it. No hard practices. That's crazy. Like, I think a lot of this started ratcheting up even worse during the bubble, the bubble season, the pandemic season, when guys performed in the empty arenas for half the season. I'm not talking about them going into the bubble, the season after, where it was like December, January, December through March, it was kind of empty arenas. Then like around April, fans came back in. I'm talking about that season. I think it was 2020 to 2021. That season kind of showed you that season was the one that was noticeable, where you knew guys were not practicing, because you could tell the way players were out, just scoring points like crazy. Because think about it, they had to go to different cities with protocols. So how the fuck are they getting practices off? Like none of that made sense. Like, I'm surprised a lot of these insiders didn't bring this up a lot more. It's like, hey, when are guys getting practices off? Were they ever practicing since they changed their scheduling?
Practices off?
Yeah. Like, like I said, the league, they make subtle changes that even fans who pay very close attention to the game don't even notice after a while.
Yeah.
The changes are very subtle, and the media, I think this is done on purpose. They don't really talk about it. They don't
No,
really
of
talk
course not,
about it
because
too
that's
much.
a lot of money lost, bro.
Yeah, it's not talked about too much because, again, this scheduling the way it is now, you get the least out of it because guys are not even practicing. Look at Joel Embiid. How is he
Yes.
gonna get? This guy can't even survive a back-to-back when teams are not even practicing hard. Look
Yeah.
at all the losses you taken with this scheduling.
Joel Embiid is a prime example of it. I mean, dude, even let's be honest, like outside of that Toronto year, right? Kawhi Leonard's load management hasn't worked.
Correct. It hasn't worked. That
Yeah.
doesn't really work. But Kawhi is a special talent at the same time. He's a very
Yes.
special talent. Like, not too many players can do what he does. Like, the efficiency he performs at is super high. Very,
Yes.
very efficient. Doesn't really need the rock too much. He's gonna make his shots at a high clip. He's gonna perform really well defensively, be the best player on the floor. It's very few players that can play like that. Like, Kevin Durant can kill you, but he's not locking you up like Kawhi can.
No.
Yeah, he's not doing it both sides of the court. So I don't think today we have a player that's that efficient to be taking load management the same way Kawhi did. And like you said, it only worked for Kawhi for one season.
Yeah. After that, we've seen him like I think I think he's regressed since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no buildup.
Like
And
I don't remember the last time Kawhi played a playoff series. I'm gonna be honest.
yeah, and I'm wondering, I gotta do my research of when the league shifted into this game day off, because I'm wondering if Kawhi is part of that
It's
Paul
a lot
George.
recent.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Kawhi is part of that Paul George class where they came into the league. It was 5 games in 7 nights or 4 games in 5 nights, and then it transitioned to day off game. Because him having an injury between the new scheduling is way different. It's way different. But yeah, it's these are very unique circumstances. But once again, this is why I'm pro player platform, because we really get the inside scoop. And sometimes these guys talk about certain nuances and they don't really notice how fans can tie certain things in. They don't really notice that. They just kind of giving on their side, they're giving small inside scoops. The fans can actually put together pieces and be like, oh, this is what's going on behind the curtain.
Yeah.
What
I
else?
guess we could talk about the All-Star game. It's a lot early. So I think with Chet and Zion obviously being out, right? I think like the center position is still interesting, but it's a lot thinner. With Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Davis, Victor Wembanyama, Jaren Jackson Jr., and obviously Nikola Jokic. So I think that like the Western Conference All Stars, especially the big man position, will be a lot interesting.
Yeah, but you know what? Half these guys are not gonna make the All-Star game.
No.
Does a 65 game rule apply for that? No, it doesn't. It
I
doesn't.
believe so.
No, I think that's
No?
for the All NBA. That's for All NBA.
Yeah,
Um,
65 games, you don't even reach to All Star game.
Yeah, it doesn't reach the All-Star game. To be honest with you, Adam Silver should just ask these guys who wants to put effort into the All-Star game first of all. If you
That
want to
is
show
true.
up and play with effort, then you make it. Like,
Yeah.
you make it. If you want to show up and just be on vacation for the weekend, then yeah, we might as well not go with you.
Yeah,
this point.
exactly.
Because it's just they really need to elevate that game. It's really a waste of time to even check in at this point. There's no
'Cause I'm,
competition.
All those guys have impressed me. Jaren Jackson had a great game against Portland. I think he's the perfect second option to John Morant. Like, all ball player, defensive, he's great. Victor Wembanyama started. He's good, but I think offense, he's just gonna keep picking it up. Obviously Sabonis, he's always gonna be like a possible All NBA player.
Do you think the Spurs are kind of freestyling too much?
Oh yeah, I think the Spurs should be a lot more serious. But I also see a lot of glaring like weaknesses in Wembanyama's game.
It's hard to tell because I believe the Spurs are kind of tanking right now. They're tanking with all those because they got multiple first round picks for this year's draft.
Yes. But I also watch Victor Wembanyama play, bro. I've seen him settle for a lot of jumpers where I'm like, dude, just like dominates. Like these guys are half their size. So there is a lot of mental, like, I don't know if it's mental or what it is, or his playing style, what he's used to. But there is times where I'm like, dude, for his body, you need to be more like dominant, you know?
Yeah, he's not there yet, and the referees this season they're allowing more physicality, just like the end of last year. But he's not
Yeah.
the only one. It's the league is in a tricky spot because it's like with these international players, especially the French guys, they tend to be a lot smaller. And the league, the more they allow physicality, I think some of the international guys, it's going to be harder for them to translate until they get their strength up. But what's his name? The first overall pick, Zachary, he actually mentioned that he said in France he was, he was one of the most athletic players, and now he's in the NBA. He's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of
He's right.
crazy. He's just a regular guy. But again, it's like the league right now, they need the international players to come in and kind of bring a more global audience as they're taking the soccer approach. But at the same time, they don't have any way of marketing these guys. They don't really know how to market them to an American audience that can make these guys cool enough. Because the American audience decides what's cool. Like Anthony Edwards, they decided, hey, that's the cool guy. They can market, quote unquote, the American swag. He has it.
Yeah.
But the international guys don't necessarily have that. But just allowing more physicality kind of stunts their growth. And I see that a lot this season with Wemby. He's going to have to really hit the gym. He's going to really have to hit the gym. French people overall, they tend to be a lot thinner.
A lot of European players tend to be a lot thinner. The only one I could really mention is like Jokic and Luka, but they came a little bit chubbier. They came on the chubbier side.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger. But it's funny because Chet Holmgren is thin too, but he likes the bump and grind. He's physical.
Yeah.
He's physical. Chet Holmgren is physical, but Wemby seems like he has more of a finesse game. But again, Chet is American. See, it's a different style. It's a different style. Like this season,
it's much more encouraged too in America to be much more physical.
Yeah, and it's the internationals, they play with a different flair, way different flair. And this season, we're seeing a draft class that included a lot of French players. A lot of the NBA lottery picks in the first few games, no one has really even averaged 15 points.
Yeah.
Or even 30 minutes, and some of the players even got DMPs or came off the bench. Like that's kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. Like the first overall pick, Zachary, he came off the bench the first 2 games. Reece Shepard for the Houston Rockets came off the bench. Alex Sarr, he's not even logging in 30 minutes. And then another draft pick that the Wizards had, was it Bub Currington?
Bub.
Yeah, like he actually,
Carrington.
yeah, he comes off the bench and he actually averages more points than Alex Sarr. Like this is a very strange draft class. Very strange draft class.
It's a draft class of role players.
Yeah, even like Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr., they're getting DMPs. Same thing for the Charlotte Hornets pick, the French kid. He got 2 DMPs.
Yeah, not a lot of confidence in these guys. Who's the Charlotte Hornets pick?
I don't even know how to say his name. Tijon.
Oh, I thought it was Diabetes. The guy Diabetes.
No, the 6th overall pick.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking him up.
He has 2 DMPs. I forgot the Hornets had the 6th overall pick, but he didn't even play.
Yeah.
He didn't even play.
Oh, no.
He got DMPs, and again, with the league allowing physicality, I'm wondering if that's gonna affect the international stars coming in, especially from Europe, translating. It's not gonna affect a lot of the Africans.
Players.
It's not gonna affect the Africans, I'll tell you that, especially the guys coming out of what was South Sudan. It's not gonna affect those guys.
No. Well, a lot of them, because of like South Sudan's like problems being a new country and all, a lot of them play in America and then just go South Sudan for the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they're able to adopt. I've seen Australian players, Australian players tend to adopt pretty easy. Like, I think LaMelo Ball has adopted pretty well in the physicalness of American basketball. the Europeans have historically been a lot more softer in that regard. Like you look at Pau Gasol, he was regarded as a lot more softer. Um,
Yeah,
Obviously, Wembanyama is a little soft right now.
yeah, they're more skill set. They're more skilled.
Yes.
It's like that in soccer. Because I'm seeing a lot of like correlations between the way soccer around the globe is played and the way, because the NBA now is more global. The same things are happening here. It's almost like in Europe, they have the academies to develop the skill, but the guys are not as strong. But you see a lot of the
Yeah.
players, especially from the African diaspora, they come in very athletic and strong, but they're lacking a lot of the small skills like the dribbling, post up moves.
Becoming a lot raw.
Yeah, it's like that in soccer.
Yeah.
Like the Africans, they got a lot of flair with the dribbling, but they lack the
Yes.
precision on their shooting, and a lot of like the passing and the control of the game. Like they lack a lot
Yes.
of like skill sets, but the physicality they have it all. But the Europeans, they have more the skills, the passing, the control, the pace of the game. Like, but it's like the same correlation I'm seeing here in basketball. It's amazing to see.
Yes. It's a lot of for the African players. Also, is like I think over time they develop their skills, right? Where like for example, I think Pascal Siakam, you could tell like he really developed the skills once he played for the Toronto's G League.
Yeah, he did. He did. But at the end of the day, the league is in a very. It's gonna be very interesting these next 10 years because the more internationals come in, you can even look at Luka right now. They don't know how to market these guys. They have no idea. And Anthony Edwards is like almost the last of the Mohegans. They know how to promote someone like Anthony Edwards, but everybody else, they do not know how to promote the international players unless they like have the quote unquote American swag. I've even seen Giannis say that. He's like, I can't be the face of the NBA. I don't have American swag. He straight up said that shit in the media.
Yeah.
And it's true. Everybody, the media knows it. They do not know how to market these guys. That's why the lottery pick, a lot of the lottery picks in this year's draft, it's been crickets. There's been no marketing. They marketed Bronny. They marketed Bronny during the draft.
He was the most talked about player.
Yeah.
And he's in the G League himself.
And he doesn't really talk. He doesn't really display personality either. But they knew how to market him. But the European kid with the accent, they do not know how to market. Even Luka, they don't know how to market Luka. They just let Luka be
and
funny.
Jokic got over on their own.
Yeah, they just let Luka be funny on his own.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, Jokic, his personality has kind of come out, and then they found like little nuances to, everyone likes to laugh at with his horses, and they turned that into a whole thing, which was genius.
Yeah, they're able to
genius.
promote one of the biggest movies.
Yeah, so that was genius on them. But Luka, I don't really see. I see the marketing, but I don't see it translating. You know what I mean? Like the same way marketing for like Anthony Edwards would translate or Kobe would translate.
Well, I think being an Adam Sandler movie helps a lot too, man.
Mm-hmm.
People loved him in the Adam Sandler movie.
Mm-hmm. But Jason,
I loved him in that movie. Yeah.
But stars like Jason Tatum, the personality is not really there too much. So
They're trying. I've seen the Netflix documentary they're making. Have you watched it yet? I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I should check it out because I want to see if these guys display more personality. Jason Tatum, he seems too afraid of getting canceled.
I watched a clip of the Jeff Teague podcast. He does come off as a decently funny guy. Yeah,
but he's too polished.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you can be too polished. And he comes across as like even like him celebrating in the finals. When he started screaming, it looked awkward. It looked like it wasn't his personality. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just something don't come off right. It's almost like the cameras are on. Let me make sure I'm professional. There's too much of that.
He's stealing Kevin Garnett's quotes.
Yeah. Like Anthony Edwards, he sees the cameras on. This dude is being himself. We know that 100%.
Yeah.
We know that. Jason Tatum, the camera's on. It's almost like he puts on the IRS suit and tie. You know what I mean? Like he's straight up about straight getting to the point, straight about the business. But it's like, hey, buddy, you could let loose a little bit. You could unbutton that tie, man. You a champion. Let loose, Jason Tatum. Let loose.
Yeah.
Like, these guys act like they didn't even win the
But I don't
championship.
think these guys want to let a personality out, bro. Like I said, Jalen Brown, how he responded to Giannis joking with him. It seemed like these guys don't really like putting like a personality out there.
Yeah, maybe. But after all, they are in Boston, so who knows
Yeah.
what's going on over there.
But Larry Bird had personality in Boston. Same with Bill Russell, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. Those guys.
Yeah, they did. You're right. They did. But
They had a lot of personality.
Tatum, well, Jalen Brown, low key, he's super smart. I'm not saying
Oh, he's a genius.
I'm not saying that doesn't translate into personality. Sometimes
It makes you a lot more reserved.
yeah, not like they pay attention a lot more to what's going on around them. So
Yes.
but Jalen Brown, super gifted. That's a super gifted person,
I
man.
think that was one of his knacks on the draft night. That was one of their fears that he's too smart. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
but
kind of
it was
ridiculous.
kinda-
How come they didn't
Yeah.
say? How come they didn't say Ja Morant? He's too dumb. How come we never hear the too dumb part?
Yeah, I think they just want to give the idea of, like this guy could possibly leave the NBA because he's too smart or whatever bullshit. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
It's just very dishonest.
yeah, and it's like, what job is he ever gonna get that's gonna give him $300 million?
Yeah, it's not like
in
he's
like
moving to
5
NASA or
years.
something, you know?
Yeah. There's no intellectual genius job that's gonna pay you that much money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of ridiculous. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, so
Unless
like Zion's stupid for like getting his stripper pregnant. Paul George, he's gotten like what 1 or 2 stripper pregnants.
yeah,
Like, what are we doing here?
it's like you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, he's gonna leave the NBA. He's too smart. What is he gonna do? Like invent like a algorithm to pick stocks? That's the only way he can make the NBA money. If he invents some sort of algorithm in Wall Street, like a new software to pick the stocks, and it just picks it properly, and then the money doubles up. That's the only way. Like, his genius is not gonna get him paid like the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, so to make statements like that is kind of ridiculous. It's very ridiculous.